Hey everybody, guess what? It's back. So I picked up the EVZ yesterday. First off, I'd like to thank Andrew and Phil at Ag Pro, Crystal River, Florida. Fantastic. They really took care of me. They took care of the mower. It took, 7 days total, but that's including the weekend. So it was actually like 5 days. But 3 of those days, they had to wait for a part to come in so they could communicate with it. And it was a learning experience for everybody. Um, I, you know, I had a good time seeing how the process worked, how they were going to diagnose it. I know I talked to Phil, the technician. He was definitely interested with it, how it happened, and how to work on it, for those of you that, if you didn't see the other videos, basically a lot of it is just plugging in a laptop and doing software work. And if you need to contact somebody else, whether it's HydroGear, which HydroGear does basically everything except the metal frame and the battery. So HydroGear is basically the manufacturer for everything electronic except for the battery, like I said, and SCAG makes the frame and the wheels and everything else. But everything else is HydroGear. So if there's a technical problem with anything other than the battery, it's probably going to be HydroGear that the technician is going to be working with. So drum roll, the whole problem was a loose nut. And the loose nut was not behind the lap bars. The loose nut was under here. What had happened was the potentiometer that is on this stalk and the other, there's two of them. There's two potentiometers basically, one on each stalk. And what they do is convert your forward motion and your backward motion into a signal that the drive controller for the two back wheels, you have a drive control unit for here and a drive control unit for here, and then you have the drive units with the motors in them. So basically the way it works is you push forward, there's a heim joint with a rod that goes into a potentiometer that basically tells the drive controller he's wanting 15% forward, or he's wanting 30% forward, or he's wanting 100% reverse. It's basically that's how it works. If you watch the other video, when I had the MyMo app open, it would say, everything was neutral, but it would say not ready to start. When I see that, I think I'm seeing all the information that is available on the mower itself. Come to find out, that's not accurate. What I'm seeing what you're seeing on the MyMo app, whether it's SCAG or anybody else that has the same system from, I think it's HydroGear makes that system too. You're seeing the safety switches, like the seat safety switch. You're seeing this safety switch that tells you that the lap bar is off, it's safetied, and a parking brake if it's equipped with it. So that's what you're seeing. The more granular data, throttle position, which is basically what it is. It's like a throttle position sensor. It's just telling the controller how much power you want to go forward and how much power you want to go backwards. On this mower, there's a nut, and I'll show it to you here in a second. There's a nut on a heim joint, and basically that nut was not tightened at the factory. And that nut right there on the end of that heim joint was backed off. And it's tight now, but that rod, this rod here, was allowed to rotate, and it just adjusted itself in and out or whatever it did, and caused this potentiometer to read incorrectly. They weren't in agreement. That one was reading something, and this one was reading something different. So, and just from bouncing around, transport, me using it, imagine how many times this thing's been going back and forth. It's only got 5 hours on it now, I think, something like that. but the rod, the nut backed off and the rod was able to turn. So it was adjusting itself in and out, apparently. Or it wasn't adjusted correctly enough at the factory. And 4.3 hours. I was close. So basically, this stalk was not showing in neutral. So whenever I would neutral it, there's a little bit of slop here, but not that much. And somewhere in here, it has to be in neutral. And what it was outside of that slop. It was just not neutral. So like, I'm not sure where, but like, back here was neutral or up there was neutral, but this was not neutral. And if these don't agree, if these two systems don't agree, and basically they're two separate systems. You have drive control for the left side, you have a drive control for the right side, and then you have a main control. And if they don't agree, it's not going to work. It's going to say, hey, there's something, he's saying he's not neutral, he's saying he's in neutral, so we're not going to do anything till you get your act together. And basically that was it. A little bit of adjustment. Phil had to get Hydrogear on the phone. They logged, he was logged into it with his computer. They did a remote session. They started pulling data. He said they pulled all kinds of stuff and did tests. And he said it wasn't long. It was very quick. He's like, they're like, this left side is not in neutral. And that's when he flipped the seat up, look, and this nut that you've seen, or I'll show you, was loose. And the rod had adjusted itself out or in, it just out of adjustment. And so as soon as they got it back in parameters, basically just, you have this much of an area and it was falling outside. So as soon as they, adjusted this back, power cycled it, click, click, whoop, it'll just like this. Turn it on, let it boot up. Which was a novel thing because it wasn't doing that a week ago. But like I said, that was it. And appreciate you guys watching. I guess this one's in serial number 154. So either this was a Friday build or a Monday build, and somebody just missed it. They missed it at the factory. They missed it. I don't know what kind of checks they do on these when they, when a dealer gets them. Really there's nothing to check. It's not like a gas one where you got to check to make sure there's oil in it, make sure the battery's charged. They probably turn it over, fire it up, and whatever. If you turn the key on and go click, 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 and it runs, but it's funny how hindsight is 20/20. When I took delivery of the mower, the salesperson said that, he said, you got to make sure these are all the way in because sometimes it wouldn't move on us. And I was like, okay. And, I didn't think nothing of it. And it worked just fine for me. I think maybe once, it didn't fire up whenever I told it to fire up. And, I just turned it off, put the things back and turned it back on, and it worked. So it was not an adjustment, it seemed like, from the beginning, and it just was getting worse. And the yard isn't the smoothest thing on the planet. The mower bounces, and you're going in and out and turning, and so it just backed out, and that was it. No dramas, no. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to report that the battery fried and this controller took a dump and, it all smoked, and I'm getting rid of it. It was just a human error that caused it to be down for a week. So, but again, can't say enough about the service at AgPro. They didn't, obviously I didn't pay anything because it was a warranty issue. But it was a good learning experience for me. It was a good learning experience for them. I guess I could say they enjoyed working on it. I don't know. We all had good jokes about, what it is, but I will say I'm still happy with my purchase. This thing mows like a beast. It will it will outcut that Gravely as far as grass height. It will motor through very thick grass, and it just pukes it out the side with, you know, thrust. And I just did it today again. Just phenomenal how much this goes. But that's it. That's all I can say about that. We'll have more content coming with it. You know, obviously it's getting summertime. I think our 12 hours of daylight starts in a couple weeks, I think. So the grass is already starting to grow faster now. So I'll be getting more and more hours on it, you know, throughout the summer, and be able to do more videos. And, you know, once I seem to reach a certain amount of hours, I'll do another video about, you know, how it's been so far, and do a recap of the season. Maybe at the end of the season, that'll work. But thanks for watching. I appreciate you. If you have any comments, please leave them below. We'll see you on the next one. And if anybody's wondering, he's still no help.